Hey everybody, welcome back to another networking video, and in this video we're going to be configuring DHCP on a Cisco Layer 3 switch. Got another simple topology here. We got two little Linux boxes here, just a Docker container appliance in GNS3. You can get this on the GNS3 marketplace if you're interested. It's really quick install, and it provides you basically two virtual machines. Two Linux virtual machines. So we're going to start on our layer 3 switch. We are basically going to have two subnets here. We're going to have the server in one subnet, the host in another subnet. We're going to set up DHCP for both of these subnets. And of course, we're going to need a host name to start with, right? Because that's always helpful. And then we're going to create some VLANs, because if we have two subnets, well, usually you want to divide your hosts from your servers, right? You might want your servers on a separate subnet. So we're actually going to make VLAN 10 for our, that's not how you spell access. That's embarrassing. But that's going to be our access VLAN for all our hosts. And then VLAN 20. And that will be our server VLAN for our servers. Isn't that wonderful? And then we're going to make some interface VLANs, right? So we're going to do interface VLAN 10. This way our hosts can communicate with the layer 3 switch. IP address, why don't we do 10.1.10.1.255.255, another /24 subnet mask. We will do the same thing for VLAN 20. IP address, do a similar convention, 10.1.20.1, 255.255.255.0. And then we're going to want to know which switch port interface we want to assign the VLAN. So our host is gig0/1. Let's go to gig0/1. It's going to be an access port, switch port, access, our VLAN 10. So now our VLAN 10 interface will actually come up because we have a switch port within that VLAN. And then we'll go do the same thing. Interface gig00. This is where our server is connected to. We're not doing IP address, it's a switch port. Switch port mode access. Switch port access VLAN 20. So now we want to probably just verify our VLAN. So we can do a show VLAN brief. And we have 10 and 20 here. Access and server, that's great. Gig01, that's our host. And then VLAN 20, the server. Gig00, that's our server. So that's perfect. Show IP interface brief. Here is our two interface VLANs. We're going to want to bring those up. Interface VLAN 10. No shut. Interface VLAN 20. No shut. And they should now be up, which they are, so that's great. So our two Linux devices are ready to come onto the network, right? So we're going to start our DHCP config. Go to conft IP DHCP. We're going to start with excluded address, because we don't want by accident, mistakes happen. We don't want our switch to hand out the IP address of our interface VLAN. So we're going to exclude 10.1.10.1, which is our VLAN 10 interface. And then we'll do the same thing for 20.1. Because if it handed out that address, well, that would be a disaster. That would not be fun for a network administrator. So we're going to go now to our actual DHCP pool. We're going to do our access first. Spelled it right this time. Aren't you proud of me? And we're going to do network 10.1.10.0. And we know it's a /24 subnet mask. Default router, you want to specify as the same thing, 10.1.10.1, which is our VLAN 1 interface. And then the DNS server, we can do the same thing. 10.1, 10.1. And we're going to do the same thing for VLAN 20 for our 10.1.20 network. IP DHCP pool servers. Notice how I'm naming it the same name as the VLAN. You don't have to do that, but I think just for, you know, it lining up, it makes me happy. I don't know if it makes you happy too, but that's how I see it. Network 10.1.20.0, 255.255.255.0. Our default router is going to be 10.1.20.1, and our DNS server is going to be 10.1.20.1. Perfect. So, to do a brief overview of what we just did, which is always helpful to do after you've configured something major, like DHCP, show IP DHCP pool, and we have our two pools. Pool access. Current index 10.1.10.3. I think that's because I was testing this beforehand, but this should probably say 10.1.10.2. And there's our range. So everything looks great on the switches side of things. Let's get into our Linux devices, mixing in a little bit of Linux here. I always want to learn, learn two things at the same time. Why not? So we're going to start with an if config, and it'll come up with nothing, which is great. And we're going to want to do a nano, because we're going to want to edit the /etc network interfaces folder. And it'll come up with this whole thing here. You're going to want to go down to this DHCP area here and uncomment. This is basically we're uncommenting these two lines, auto eth0, which is our interface you can see here in our topology here. So this is what's going to cause the device to actually use DHCP when it starts up or when the network service is restarted, which unfortunately on this you cannot do. So in GNS3 we're just going to stop it, start it back up, and you'll actually be able to see if you reconnect the discover request, and it's selected 10.1.10.3. So we have an IP address, that's great. If config, and it's in our access subnet, right? 10.1.10. And yeah, looks great to me. And we're just going to do the same thing really over here. If config should come up with nothing. Nano /etc network interfaces. And let's uncomment these. Boom. Give her the old restart. That's what we get paid to do. We show up to users, restart their computer, and we look like rocket scientists. Look at this. Discovered 10.1.20.3, and it was obtained. If config. Perfect. So let's try to ping our default gateway. Why not? We'll start small. That's a good sign. Can we ping 10.1.10.1? Yeah, we can. That's a really good sign, because now we're getting to another network. Can we get to 10.1.10.3, right? Our host? Is the server going to be able to communicate with the host? Of course it is. You thought it wasn't gonna? Back to the switch. One last thing. I love show commands, and you're going to need to know your show commands. Show IP DHCP binding. And this will come up with the leases. This is from when I did it beforehand, which is okay, but these are our current leases. 10.1.10.3. There's the MAC address of the Linux device. Here's the Linux server, 10.1.20.3. There's the MAC address. So this is great. VLAN 20, VLAN 10. And that'll about do it. Just a simple DHCP config on a switch. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative and you learned something. Please leave a like if you did. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. And we'll be doing more networking and Linux related things. Thank you. I'll see you next time.